Well, as we know, a good thing can only last for so long here in Carolina. And after 1 week where the Panthers looked great against Atlanta, they looked, well, like the Panthers up in New England. We'll break it all down right here in Locked On Panthers.
You are Locked On Panthers, your daily Carolina Panthers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into another edition of the Locked On Panthers podcast, the part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, as always, Julian Council, talking Carolina Panthers with you every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and yes, of course, Friday, your team every day. That's our motto here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks for watching the show here on YouTube, where I am live right now and live following every Carolina Panthers regular season game. If you ever miss a live edition here on YouTube, do not fret, because the game will be on, or the show rather will be on YouTube as well later on, and also will be there wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. The Carolina Panthers 13, the New England Patriots 42. The Panthers coming off of a triumphant, dominant 30-0 victory at home against the Atlanta Falcons, go on the road and just get blown out by a Patriots team that honestly, so far this season, hadn't really been all that great. So, yeah, that's a tough one for Dave Canales and the boys. Last week he said, good win for the boys, bad loss for the boys today as they go up there to Foxborough and just get blown out. And it's unfortunate, but this is where we're at in the Dave Canales, Dave Tepper partnership in Carolina. A good thing just can only last for so long in Carolina. Every time you feel like maybe things are going to go their way, this is something that happens. They've been known to have the 0-2 hole, then bounce back big time in week 3. They did it last year against Las Vegas, did it last week against Atlanta. And then there's this. There's the reality that this is still a work in progress, and there's still so many questions that remain about Bryce Young, about Dave Canales, about the Panthers defense, about what exactly the direction this organization is going to go into here in 2025. And Dave Canales told us back during the spring that it was going to take 4 to 6 games to find out who they are. And I certainly hope after a 1-3 start after 4 games, this is not who the Carolina Panthers are going to be again in 2025. I want to give him the benefit of the doubt and see what they do next week at home against Miami, and then the following week at home against Dallas. I want to let them have 3 games at home, 3 on the road, maybe get a little bit healthier, and then make a strong judgment on who this team is going to be and who they are in 2025. But right now, they are the same old inconsistent Panthers we have seen over the last couple of years. They stomped the Falcons 30-0 last week at home in a game where the offense really wasn't great. They had the opening drive touchdown. They were able to cash in the Mike Jackson interception, which is playing complimentary football. But you looked at the numbers, it wasn't like they were explosive, didn't do a ton of great things, but they did not have catastrophic plays like they had in week 1 down in Jacksonville, in week 2 in the first half at Arizona that took them out of those games. So it was a pat on the back, bravo. They got the job done offensively a week ago. The defense was stellar. You had the pick 6 from Shaw Smith-Wade, the interception from Mike Jackson, Lathan Ransom having the punch out at the end of that game as well. The defense played really well all 4 quarters of that game last Sunday in Atlanta, and really going back to the second half against Arizona, sans that opening touchdown drive in the third quarter there in the desert. They had been playing well, and the thought was maybe, just maybe, they're turning a corner. And of course, special teams was a major factor as Ryan Fitzgerald connected all of his field goals. He had the dirty kickoffs that Atlanta could not field. You were feeling good about maybe Carolina was taking the step in the right direction after beating a Falcons team that, if you watch the game, a lot of that was on Atlanta, but you have to give credit to what Carolina did in that victory to win it as convincingly as they did, 30-0 last week. Look to now this week, well, the offense was pretty much the same, had the opening drive touchdown, and then after that, didn't really do much and did not have a defense this week that got them the ball in short fields, and they were not able to cash in and finish drives today. You look at the defense, well, It was awful. Special teams was, again, a major factor, but the Panthers were on the other side of the coin where they had a disastrous special teams performance, and that's really where I want to go from here on this show. We'll talk more about the offense, more about the defense, but special teams. I talked about this on Friday during my 3 keys of victory. It was the final key: special teams, special teams, special teams. We often forget about just how important it is. And then we saw last week of Fitzgerald making a 57-yarder. His dirty kickoffs where Atlanta couldn't field those. All the disadvantageous positions they put themselves in, the Falcons did to start off those drives. How well Ryan Martin had played so far at the punter position for Carolina. We saw the importance and how Carolina really, through the first 3 weeks of the season, had a decided advantage there. They just were losing by defense, not playing up to the standard until last week in the second half against Arizona, and then the offensive turnovers that were killing them. Special teams was not the case there, but today in New England, that is definitely where they lost this game. You look at it, the extra point that Ryan Fitzgerald missed, it happens. It's a young kicker. Dan Morgan, the Panthers general manager and president of football operations, said they're going to live with the ups and the downs. Well, today, that was the down, the missed extra point, the missed 55-yarder where he did not have the leg strength. I'm guessing the wind was a big factor because there was a timeout taken prior, or at least it was a timeout because of an injury that was taken prior to the Panthers deciding, all right, let's attempt the 55-yarder. Before that, Dave Canales was set to punt from the New England, 37, I believe, which would have been the third time he had punted within New England territory in the first half. But that kick does not get there. But really where the game changed to me was a 3rd and 10 call by Dave Canales. 3rd and 10, they're at the Pats 45. You're up 1-0. You're able to get a 3 and out. You're feeling good. Another good start to the game, back-to-back weeks in a row. On 3rd and 10, what does he do? He runs a draw play to Rico Dowdle for 2 yards. So you're thinking, okay, if you're going to do that, maybe you're going to keep your foot on the gas and you're going to go for it on 4th and 8 as you're right there in no man's land at the Pats 43. Instead, he punts the ball. It gets returned by Marcus Jones. Caleb Evans has him wrapped up around the ankle, can't bring him down. He races off to the end zone for 87 yards. New England's up 7-6. Panthers go down the next drive, can't score, and really, the rest is history there. And the fact that not once, but twice, Marcus Jones set up touchdowns for New England, the 87-yard punt return touchdown, then had a 61-yard punt return touchdown later on as well that led to a touchdown. In the punting game, outside of that, just Ryan Martin, he's punting from the Patriots 41, which, okay, it's 4th and 11. I guess I understand, but damn, do you ever want to punt in that situation? I'd rather just go for it at that point in time. Punts it right into the end zone and gives New England good field position, or better field position than they would have had he done his job. Trevor Etienne, late in that game, he's fielding a punt inside the 5 and getting tackled for a loss and being down at the 3. Or then Carolina does not end up moving the ball at all. New England gets a short field, and they score a touchdown on that drive. Special teams killed him in this game. Killed him. I mean, the cowardice of your coach not wanting to try to score, move the ball on a 3rd and 10 in New England territory when you're already up 7-0, feeling good about yourself coming off of last week and the way you had started the game. But special teams was a disaster today. In an area where Carolina, according to EPA expected points added, was 11th in the NFL. They were top 4 when it comes to where their opponents were starting drives after a kickoff and after a punt. Well, today, they took a big step back on special teams, and Tracy Smith will have to go back to the drawing board and figure out what exactly happened, as his unit did not hold up their end of the bargain. But they certainly are not the only ones to blame, as we always play the blame game following a loss here in Carolina. The offense could not finish drives. Bryce Young yet again throwing for less than 200 yards, and Dave Canales, a lot of questions about what exactly he is doing as a play caller and as a leader of this organization. And wide receiver, maybe starting to have a little bit of concerns there with all the injuries and the lack of depth that we have not seen so far the first 4 weeks of the season. We'll talk more about that here in just a moment on Locked on Panthers. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Every day we make decisions, but on Prize Picks, being right can actually get you paid. Don't miss the excitement of this football season with Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Playing Prize Picks is such a fun, simple way to add more excitement to football. You just pick more or less on a player projection, like Josh Allen's passing yards or Saquon Barkley rushing for a touchdown, and you're in the game. I love how quick it is. You can make your lineup in under a minute. My favorite part, Prize Picks just added stacks. So if you want to ride with a player, you can select their pass yards, rush yards, and touchdowns all in one lineup. It's also fun to follow other players on the app and copy their lineups with one click. And the new injury reboot feature, if your player leaves early and doesn't return, it won't count against you. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. Guys, you probably heard of Viagra or Cialis. Maybe you've even tried them, but if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rougiette Go Long. This isn't just another ED pill. It's a total game changer for confidence. Go Long combines 2 doctor-trusted medications in one dual-action formula, so you can get hard and go the distance. The effects can last up to 36 hours. That's confidence all day, all night, and even into the next day. The process is simple. Connect with a board-certified doctor 100% online, and if prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly right to your door. Ready to level up your confidence in the bedroom? Head to RUGIET.com and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL for 15% off your first order. That's RUGIET.com, promo code LOCKEDONNFL. Make sure to use our code so they know we sent you. Back here on Locked On Panthers, Carolina Panthers go on the road and lose to New England Patriots 42-13. Started off with a 6-0 lead, and the New England scored 42 points unanswered until a late Mitchell Evans touchdown reception from Andy Dalton, who came in with 8:41 left in the game. That's how bad this was on Sunday up in New England, and it did not start off poorly. Week 1 and week 2, those games started off poorly because Carolina could not take care of the football. Last week, they took care of the football, went down, scored a touchdown immediately, and felt good. Today, did the same thing. 7 plays, 72 yards on the opening drive to score a touchdown, and you get you get New England the punt right after that. You're driving down the field, and you feel like here's an opportunity. Go up 2 scores, get New England feeling like, oh, damn, turnover 5 times last week at home against Pittsburgh. They are a 1-2 football team, a young team with Drake May, still trying to figure things out. A great opportunity to go up 2 scores, put them behind the 8 ball, and really put the pressure on them on the road. Instead, as I mentioned earlier, it's 3rd and 10. And Dave Canales decides, let's not throw the ball on 3rd and 10 to try and actually convert. Let's run the ball and only get 2 yards. And then after they have run the ball, they're at New England's 43, they decide, let's punt, which then you saw Marcus Jones take that back 87 yards. And it drives me insane because if you're going to run the ball on 3rd and 10, that's totally fine. If the expectation after that is to then go for it. If it's then where you're thinking, well, we got to get about 8 yards and then we'll go for it, why not throw it? Why not have a passing concept that's going to get you the necessary yardage for that to be a successful play, which it wouldn't be a successful play unless it was a first down, but to put you in position to then where there is no question asked that you're going to go for it there on 4th down. But instead, they run it, they punt it, and everything changed from there. And really, the issue the Panthers offense had in this game today was that they couldn't finish drives. They couldn't. Like, if you look at the yardage in today's game, total yardage, they had 326 yards. New England had 307. Now, that does not count the return yards they had in the punts, but they had 326 yards. So more yardage than New England, more first downs, 21 out versus 16. Like, they did not have a problem moving the ball. The problem was once they moved the ball into the Patriots territory, they had nothing for them at that point in time. They got into New England territory 6 times and came away, well, I guess 7 times, and came away with 13 points. And if you want to look at when the game was still in doubt, really, they got in 4 times or 5 times and came away. Yeah, 4 times out of 5 of their drives there in the first half. They were able to get in New England territory and only had 7 points. Like, you cannot win football games that way. You scored on the opening drive. You punted there from the New England 43. You punted the next time you were down there from the New England 41 on what was, yes, a 4th and 11. So I guess I understand that. You missed a field goal for the New England 37. They went turnover on downs twice in the second half, one from New England's 35, the other from New England's 41. You can't win ball games like that if the offense is not finishing drives. So really, the story offensively was that. They didn't finish drives. They did move the ball some today, had more yardage than New England, just couldn't cap it off when they got into Patriots territory. And also, like, the passing offense, again, left a lot to be desired. And I put this stat out there over on Twitter at Julian Council. Follow me there. Hit me up in my DMs at me to get in for the weekly Wednesday mailbag this week. Also, get me up on Blue Sky at Julian Council. I put this stat out there. Bryce Young, he only threw for 150 yards today, after only throwing for like 121 last week in the win against Atlanta. Young has thrown for less than 200 yards in 20 out of his 32 starts in the NFL. The Panthers are 5-15 in those games. Now, it's not obviously all on Bryce, but consistently, the Panthers' passing attack, led by Bryce Young at quarterback, has left a lot to be desired and is not nearly where it needs to be at this point in time in his career. Yes, year one was basically a wash because of all that was effed up around him. Last year, it started off horribly. He came back second half of the season, played well. So far this season, it's been a mix of terrible to like, wow, really good to and we're still asking questions. We're still trying to figure out who is the real Bryce Young. But when you look at 20 out of his 32 starts, he's failed to throw for over 200 yards passing. Maybe this is the real Bryce Young. Maybe this is what Carolina is going to be dealing with at quarterback, or are there other things that are holding them back? Because I am seriously questioning what exactly Dave Canales is adding right now to this offense in a positive way. Because you look at the end of the half, we talked about this last week, where they decide, let's run the ball and let it just go down in 2-minute warning, then come back right after that, run it again, have 38 seconds go off the clock. Then Bryce Young picks up the first down. Oh, sorry, there's a hold on Damian Lewis, so it's coming back. And then let's go ahead and surrender run and then punt it back to Atlanta, who fortunately in that scenario for Carolina, they didn't have really any timeouts. They couldn't do anything with it. And in a week prior, same situation. Okay, you're down 13-3. Instead of coming out trying to sling it around the yard when you have timeouts, run it, get nothing, try to throw it to Leggett, get nothing. Then you have Sanders drops it, and then special teams killed him there, where there was a nice punt return by Arizona, and then a touchdown. You're down 20-3. Instead of potentially getting that to a 13-6 or a 13-10 game before the half. And then last week, instead of it being 13-0 or 17-0, it's only 10-0. And there was still doubt heading into the half, even though Atlanta was horrible. Today, same thing. Runs the ball, gets nothing. Runs the ball, gets nothing. It's just, they've had 4 2-minute drills before the half this season on offense. And they have gone fumble that Bryce had in Jacksonville, punt, punt, punt. The middle 8, people talk about it all the time. The last 4 minutes of the first half, first 4 minutes of the second half, Carolina is beating themselves in the middle 8. They truly are, because they're not even trying to score. And I can understand, well, they have, New England has timeouts too, so you want to run it and then see what happens there, and then, maybe figure. No. Dude, you're losing the game. You're down, 28-6? Try to score points. Try to make it to where you're still in it after the half instead of being down 3 scores or whatever it was. Like, it just drives me nuts when I see this week after week with Dave Canales and this Panthers offense, that there is just zero appetite to put any amount of points on the board before the half, to have any sort of aggression. And it carries over in every facet of this offense. Rarely do you see down the field throws. You look at him punting the ball multiple times in New England territory and not even setting themselves up on third down to be in position to get it and go for it on fourth down. You see it constantly with him. And I understand the calls to give Brad Idzik, whose name I couldn't remember on Friday, an opportunity. Maybe it changes. I don't know. Dave Canales is going to be a part of the game plan and going to be a part of what play is called, whether he's calling the plays or not. But right now, I'm seriously questioning what exactly is he trying to achieve on offense, and how good of a play caller is he? Because I don't know all the protections, everything they're calling, and all of that. But I'm watching it, and I'm seeing an offense that is not able to finish drives, that shows little to no aggression at all, and does not hit chunk plays. And this is the second year of it so far. And I'm really starting to wonder when you look at Tampa, where it's Josh Grizzard now as the Bucs OC. Last year was Liam Cohen as the Bucs OC. Year prior to that was Dave Canales. Maybe it's just Baker Mayfield and Chris Godwin and Mike Evans and having Tristan Wirfs. Maybe it's the personnel more so than it's the actual play caller. And that Dave Canales rode those guys to getting this job, and apparently may not be it when it comes to calling plays. I'm looking at it. I'm not seeing the consistent development in the passing game from the quarterback, and I'm not seeing the aggressiveness and really the creativity in some of the things that they've called. So I'm just asking questions that you're also asking yourselves as well. And I'm sure people are saying, finally, you're there. But I like to be a little bit more patient, because I know some of you immediately assume something doesn't work. Okay, well, that's who's the problem. I don't know. But I have real questions and real concerns about what exactly this offense is going to be under Dave Canales moving forward, as it really has not impressed me so far this season, and even large parts of last season left me wildly unimpressed. And I also have concerns at wide receiver at this point in time. Trading Adam Thielen, we don't need to do revisionist history. It made sense because Carolina had plenty of depth there. They had young guys. They had drafted McMillan. They had Leggett coming back for his second year, Jalen Coker coming back. And those guys, they showed promise throughout the offseason, and those are the guys that they invested in for the future. So it made sense that they would move on from Adam, and they had to get the right deal, and they did. Adam wanted to go back home to Minnesota, where he's really not doing anything other than being back home and being an ancillary part of that offense. Good for him. But it made sense. They were always going to be taking a calculated risk if Leggett or Coker didn't develop and if McMillan wasn't ready. Well, turns out that Tenero McMillan is absolutely ready for it and is going to be a stud here in Carolina. The problem is Xavier Leggett, when he has played in those two games, has been awful. And he has not played the last 2 weeks of a hamstring injury, and maybe he plays next week. They also haven't had Jalen Coker, who, of course, was a big part of moving on from Adam, because he was going to step into the slot and play that position. He's been dealing with a quad injury, and I'm not so certain he'll be able to play next week against Miami. And they weren't even planning on having Hunter Renfrow even after they traded Adam. They were waiting for Coker. I mean, Coker had to get hurt before Hunter Renfrow was even going to be part of the active roster. And you look at today, David Moore gets injured on the first play of the game, goes down with an elbow injury. And I'll be honest, I'm really not trying to make light of this. I have never seen anybody hurt their elbow and get carted off. Like, he had to be in some serious pain for that to happen. So I hope he's okay. But that was certainly a new one that I've seen in a football game in my lifetime. Dale Von Campbell, the guy who keeps getting elevated or active on Sundays ahead of Jimmy Horn Jr., the 6th-round pick. He went out with a hamstring injury. They were down to 3 receivers in the second half. It was McMillan, Bryson Tremaine, and Hunter Renfrow. And, I mean, credit Tommy Trimble for coming out there and making some plays in the pass game. But at this point in time, and you got JT Sanders is out as well. Mitchell Evans went out there, made some catches, had a touchdown. James Mitchell also was involved. So I'll give credit where it's due when it comes to the tight ends today, as far as their involvement in the pass game. But I mean, Mark Schlereth said it constantly on the Fox broadcast today that aside from McMillan, who else is making plays at receiver? We spent all offseason talking about the depth, the talent there, the youth as well, and that this could be a receiving unit that could really give Bryce something. But also, it was said that we got to wait and see. Because while there is some depth there, some talent there, the youth could be something that shows its rear ugly head multiple times, because a lot of these guys haven't been in these positions. And so far, you don't have Leggett right now. He hasn't been great when he has played. You haven't had Coker at all. So you got to wait and see. But until those guys are back healthy and contributing, I do have a certain level of concern about where the wide receiver core is and whether Bryce has enough around him to succeed. But also, I'm looking at Bryce, I'm looking at the play caller and the head coach and Dave Canales, and asking, what are you trying to accomplish? What exactly is it that you were doing here to help elevate this team and to win games? Because the offense wasn't great last week, and they won that in large part because obviously the defense scored a touchdown, which is all they needed, was one score, and gave up nothing. But today, seeing a lot of the same offense we've seen, aside from, one half of the season when it was garbage time in Arizona. So yeah, I have my concerns about Dave Canales, Bryce Young, and everyone involved with this Carolina Panthers offense. And that's not to mention offensive line injuries. Chandler Zavala goes out with a knee injury, which may be serious. And Brandon Walton is coming in instead of Brady Christensen. I talked to Brady in the locker room a couple weeks ago when it was Chandler and Cade. I guess really, maybe it was last week, actually. All these weeks blend together. It's already early in the season, and I'm already having weeks blend together. I was just basically trying to ask, like, so how do you feel about this? Last year, you started at center, played fine. You started at left tackle, played fine. Then you went to the bench, which, okay, that made sense. Cade Mays came in, played better. But now this year, they've started Yosh Nijman at left tackle over you, and he's the worst offensive lineman that you have. They have put Cade in there, which, of course, makes sense. But then they put Chandler in there. Now he's hurt, and he was coming off of an injury that he had throughout training camp. And then Brandon Walton's in there over you. He just, of course, gave the right team response. But I was trying to ask him, dude, aren't you pissed off that they won't play you? That's crazy to me, man. He re-signed. He loves Charlotte. I get it. A lot of people love Charlotte. People who are, I'm not going to say it, but that's just weird to me that he's not getting that opportunity and Brandon Walton is, because he's that versatile for them offensively that they can't have him ever fill in at tackle, at center, at guard. That is a weird one. So I just wanted to say that. The defense, though, yeah, took big steps forward the last couple of weeks and went all the way back today. And they all want Gerald fired again, which I guess you didn't really change your mind on that one. We'll talk about the Panthers defense and the fact that this team just cannot win on the road here in just a moment on Locked on Panthers. Caffeine just got a flavor upgrade. 5-hour energy shots deliver tasty caffeine in 17 bold flavors. Each 2-ounce shot packs the caffeine of a premium 12-ounce cup of coffee plus B vitamins and nutrients with zero sugar and zero crashes. What I love most is how portable they are. Big taste, tiny shot. You can take it anywhere and get that boost when you need it. Honestly, I love how fast it kicks in and that it's sugar-free, so I don't have to worry about crashing later. And one of my favorite flavors is the Transfusion flavor, grape, lime. You know the flavor. You're a big fan of the Transfusion drink. Enough of boring, flavorless caffeine. It's time to give your caffeine a flavor upgrade with 5-hour energy shots. Get the favorites you love or be bold and try something new in store and online at www.5hourenergy.com or Amazon today. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love how FanDuel gives me so many ways to play. I've built parlays, tried player props, and even followed the live lines during the games. It makes watching football even more exciting when you've got a little something riding on the action. Whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Thank you to the 260 of you who are live with me here on YouTube. Again, I'm live every single Sunday following the Panthers game here on YouTube. During road games, I'm live immediately after the game. Home games, when I'm up there, so the next couple of weeks, when the Panthers welcome Miami in Dallas to Bank of America Stadium, gonna have to wait about an hour as I'll go down to Dave Canales' press conference, go to the locker room, listen to Bryce Young as well, and then I'll come back upstairs to the press box and talk to y'all live on YouTube, and hopefully they will be able to serve at home. As right now, they cannot win on the road. And this has just been an issue the Panthers have had for going on a decade, really. And you look at it, they have not had a winning record on the road since 2017. What was the last thing that happened there in 20? Oh, they went to the playoffs. So they have not been to the playoffs since 2017. Of course, they've not had a winning record since 2017, and they have not had a winning record on the road since 2017. So apparently the only way to go to the playoffs here in Carolina, the only way to have a winning record is, obviously winning on the road. Like, it's a big piece of that in the NFL every single year, unless you're just going to be nails at home, which, of course, this organization has not been over the last couple of years. So they went 5-3 that year in 2017, and so far under Dave Canales, they are 2-9 on the road. And they have 6 more road games remaining this season, as they have 8 home games, 9 games on the road. Not ideal for Carolina at this point in time. And until they can learn how to win on the road. I remember a couple years ago when Steve Wilkes, who has been in the news this week because of Baker Mayfield throwing out just complete BS with his situation in Carolina. I have defended Baker for how things played out because he got screwed when they traded for him, and the whole let's have a quarterback competition between him and Darnold, even though they spent all offseason trying to get Darnold or try to get rid of Darnold and get Deshaun Watson's old nasty ass. So whatever. We're not going to rehash it, even though I kind of just did. But Wilkes talked a big game about how going to that game against Seattle, they needed to find a way to win on the road and to win back-to-back football games, and they got it done. Maybe there's not an emphasis so far when it comes to Dave Canales and trying to win back-to-back games and win on the road, but maybe you should start emphasizing that because his teams have just not come. I mean, they didn't come out poorly today. It all just flipped with his decision to run the ball on 3rd and 10, then the punt inside Patriots territory, which I guess in that point of the game, it's a right decision on 4th and 8. But why then run it on 3rd and 10? Like, that's what I'm having a problem with. Not necessarily punting because it's 4th and 8. Okay, whatever. But why run the play to set you up in that position instead of running something that can maybe get you in a better position? But I can talk about it until I'm purple in the face, I suppose. I guess I can't get blue. I don't know. But they're terrible on the road. And until that changes, this is kind of what you're going to get. You're going to get the no-show in Jacksonville. You're going to get the no-show in the first half against Arizona. And then you're going to get maybe a positive start, but then just a complete ass whooping after that against New England. And they got 6 more of these. The defense regressed today, and there are just certain points in times where they really did not play well. I think back to that second Patriots drive after Sam Martin punted it into the end zone for a touchback. You had back-to-back plays where clearly Josh McDaniels looked the fact that Pat Jones II and DJ Wonnum were not playing in this game, and he wanted to test the young edge rushers and Nick Scorton and DJ Johnson, who got to start instead of Princely Monmiel because they wanted him out there in rundowns. Back-to-back plays where Scorton whips on a tackle, and then DJ Johnson, he takes the eye candy, he goes inside, and then the play goes right around him. He can't make the play. Both those guys are responsible for that touchdown, and even after that, you got Drake May basically waltzing into the end zone, and DJ Johnson, again, missing his assignment there, not able to keep contained. So on that drive, couldn't run fit. These guys getting beat on jet sweeps. Credit to Josh McDaniels, and you got to do a better job of your Scorton and Johnson. There were other plays that Scorton did make against the run, but on that drive in particular, that led it to be 14-6 against New England. He and DJ Johnson were a big part of New England's success on that drive. Nick Scott, been a punching bag here for Panther fans. A lot of times it's been fair. A lot of times I think it's not been fair. Today absolutely is. New England has what was a questionable face mask call, but a face mask call, it is what it is. Kind of live with it. Carolina has New England back on their own 24. I think it's 1st and goal from the 24. And then you stop them on 1st down behind the sticks, by the way. And then on 2nd down, Nick Scott gets called for tripping because he can't make the play. And then that results into a 1st and goal. And then they end up scoring a touchdown. Just things that you can't have happen. You can't. If you miss, you got to make the tackle first off. If you're going to miss a tackle, then you got to let the guy go. You want to play, you want to be competitive, put your leg up there, but it's illegal. It's a penalty, and that led to a touchdown. And then later on, you have Shaw Smith-Wade, instead of trying to tackle Hunter Henry, and what do you know? Panthers can't defend a tight end again. He decides to try to punch at the ball when he could have pushed him. You didn't have to tackle. You could have just pushed him out of bounds. Instead, he tries to punch at the ball, and Hunter Henry, who looks like he's jogging. That's how slow and unathletic he looked on that play. He goes into the end zone. And then they had 0 pass rush, which isn't a surprise. I told you before the season, I did not expect the pass rush to be great. I thought maybe it'd be improved. Having Pat Jones come in, he got off to a blistering start last year in Minnesota before injuries. And then DJ Wonnum showed some juice there when he came back after the blood clot injury or medical situation last year. And then adding Scorton Monmiel, I didn't expect a lot out of those guys, but as the season wore on, and we're only 4 weeks into this, maybe they would be a factor. But looking at PFF pressure percentage over from True Media, ahead of the game, Panthers were dead last behind New Orleans, who's the worst team in the NFL, I think. And no pressure at all day. Nothing has changed as far as that goes. Even when they blitz, can't get pressure. So, yeah, back to what the defense was before. They did not, I think, give up 200 yards rushing today. They gave up 104. So, weren't terrible. Against the run, only 3.6 yards per carry for New England. So they've been better against the run the last couple of weeks, but a couple of situations where they couldn't defend jet sweeps. They weren't put in the best situations because of some special teams mishaps, all of that. But you look at it at the end of the day, and this is a defense that gave up 35 points. And that is not going to win you any games in the NFL when your offense can't close out drives, your special teams can't tackle, can't kick the ball in bounds, all that. Just a miserable performance by the Carolina Panthers. They're now 1-3. But again, 2 winnable games against Dallas and against Miami over the next couple of weeks, with Miami first, then Dallas. But we'll have to see. I went on a podcast. I'll say this. I went on a podcast this week with somebody who was asking me, oh, yeah, I think this team can go 5-2. It's like, yeah, well, maybe. Because those games against New England and against Miami and against Dallas, against New York, those are against comparable competition, you would think. But very little have I seen from Carolina through 3 weeks and through the last couple of years to ever lead me to believe they're going to win 5 games in a row. And I was hopeful they could go on the road and beat a team that, looking on paper, they absolutely should have felt like this is a game they could win. And, of course, that did not happen. So the Carolina Panthers go on the road, lose yet again, 42-13 against New England Patriots. They'll lick their wounds, come back home, face off Miami, and try to get right again, or descend further into the mediocrity that David Tepper has dragged this wonderful, beautiful city of mine and yours into over the last decade. So hope for a better day, but today was not one of those for Carolina. That's going to wrap up this edition of the Locked On Panthers podcast for our Locked On Podcast Network, hosted by yours truly, Julian Council. Again, y'all subscribe, follow the show free over on YouTube or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. And be sure to follow me, Julian Council, over on Twitter and Blue Sky at Julian Council on Wednesdays throughout the entirety of the regular season. I'm on the show answering your weekly Wednesday mailbag questions. So either at me or DM me on Twitter or at me over on Blue Sky to get those questions into me right now. Do not wait. Get those questions in. In the meantime, be safe, be happy, be whole. As always, keep pounding in on Tuesday. I'll be back looking back at the good, the bad, and the very ugly from the Panthers' loss in New England. We'll react to what Dave Canales had to say after reviewing the film on the Monday, and we'll review the 3 keys of victory, which we know one of those keys, they did not do a great job. All that more coming up here on Tuesday on Locked On Panthers.